المقاومة في لبنان تحمي الدولة وتحمي الشعب وتحمي الوطن.
Good afternoon on this Sunday, June 1st. I'm Yuna Nofag. These are today's headlines. Security agencies launch an investigation to identify the shooters who appeared in a controversial video message vowing to liberate Babda from the upcoming presidential elections. A heavy-handed police crackdown on Turkish protesters marking the one-year anniversary of deadly anti-government demonstrations earns Ankara a strong rebuke from the Council of Europe. And French authorities arrest a man in connection with the murder of 3 people at the Jewish Museum in Brussels. Security agencies launched an investigation to identify the shooters who appeared in a controversial video vowing to liberate Babda from the upcoming president. We are certain that the shooting occurred in Beirut's southern suburbs, security sources said in comments published by Future newspaper. These sources pointed out that the man identified by his initials AAH is suspected to be the person talking in the video. Investigations are ongoing to identify the rest of the men who appeared there. The 3-minute video, which went viral on social media and aired on MTV on Friday, showed 3 men celebrating the Resistance and Liberation Day on May 25th by opening fire from the rooftop of a building reportedly located in Dahi. One of the shooters said that this was all in hopes of liberating Babda from the new president. He continued eagerly on Tariq Jdide. Prime Minister Tamam Salam reiterates that the country is passing through extraordinary circumstances capped with a vacancy at the helm of the country's top Christian post. He called on comments to MTV channel on the political arctros to swiftly elect a new president, saying that his cabinet will deal with the stage in an exceptional way. Lebanon has been plunged into a leadership vacuum after Michel Sleiman's presidential term ended, with rival political blocs still divided over a new leader. Over the past 2 months, the parliament convened 5 times to try to elect a successor to Sleiman, but failed during the last 4 sessions due to a lack of quorum. The presidential vacuum raised fears that it would affect Lebanon's power-sharing agreement, under which the president should be a Maronite, the premier a Sunni, and the speaker a Shia. Social Affairs Minister Rashid Derbas estimates that there are now at least 1,250 Syrian refugee camps spread across Lebanon. The minister said the Lebanese authorities had the complete records of the Syrian refugees in the country. The number of refugees registered with the UNHCR now exceeds 1 million. The Lebanese government estimates there are 4 more unregistered Syrians who have fled the battles in their country. Lebanon has resisted the establishment of official refugee camps, and most of those seeking shelter from the Syrian war are now living in Lebanese towns and villages. A heavy-handed police crackdown on Turkish protesters marking the one-year anniversary of deadly anti-government demonstrations earns Ankara strong rebuke from the Council of Europe. Saturday's events add to the list of cases in which the handling of demonstrations in Turkey has raised serious human rights concerns. Police clashed with protesters in Istanbul, firing tear gas and water cannon at people clustered on side streets, defying a government ban on demonstrations on the iconic Taksim Square, the epicenter of last year's turmoil. Some 25,000 police officers were deployed in Istanbul alone, as well as dozens of armored vehicles and water cannon trucks as police helicopters hovered above. In Ankara, police also clashed with protesters, hurling fireworks and responded with water cannon. In several other neighborhoods, people whistled and banged posts from pans hanging from their balconies, reminiscent of last year's protests. French authorities arrested a man in connection with the murder of 3 people at the Jewish Museum in Brussels. 2 of the 3 victims of the May 24th attack were Israeli tourists from Tel Aviv. A 4th person was injured. The French police source said that the 29-year-old man was arrested in the southern French city of Marseille on Friday. He had a Kalashnikov and another gun with him. French media reported that the man was suspected of having stayed in Syria with armed groups in 2013. Belgian officials previously released a 30-second video clip from the museum's security cameras showing a man wearing a dark cap and a blue jacket entering the building, taking a Kalashnikov rifle out of a bag and shooting into a room before walking out. The man from the northern city of Roubaix had been in jail in 2012. AFP quote sources close to the investigation named the suspect as Mehdi Nemouche. Coming up next, the only American soldier held prisoner in Afghanistan has been freed by the Taliban in exchange for the release of 5 Afghanis. Stay with us. Welcome back. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warns against any international rush to recognize a Palestinian government due to be announced under a unity pact between the Fatah and Hamas Islamist groups. Israel and the West classify Hamas as a terrorist organization and have no official dealings with the movement, which advocates the destruction of the Jewish state. But Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas, whose Fatah party signed a reconciliation deal with Hamas in April, said a unity government due to be announced Monday would be comprised of ministers without political affiliation, a status that could ease the way for Western engagement. Israel froze U.S.-brokered peace talks with Abbas when the unity deal was announced on April 23rd after numerous unsuccessful attempts at Palestinian reconciliation since Hamas seized the Gaza Strip from Fatah forces in fighting back in 2007. Hundreds of demonstrators shouting freedom and democracy gathered near a major shopping mall in downtown Bangkok in Thailand to denounce the country's May 22nd coup despite a lockdown by soldiers of some of the city's major intersections. The country's new military rulers had deployed thousands of troops and police officers to several key locations across the capital to prevent a series of expected rallies from gelling. But protesters showed up at a site that lacked any mass army presence and elevated walking beside the Terminal 21 shopping mall, chanting and holding signs saying no coup. The mall's owners shut the 9-story complex and ordered customers out as scores of police and helmeted soldiers with riot shields took positions nearby. 2 army trucks, including a Humvee mounted with a machine gun, parked on the street outside but moved away after crowds booed them. The United Nations says violence has claimed the lives of 799 Iraqis in May, the highest monthly death toll so far this year. The figures issued Sunday by the UN mission to Iraq put last month's civilian death toll at 603, with 196 security forces killed. UNAMI added that 1,400 other Iraqis, including over 1,000, were wounded. Last month's death toll stood at 750. It added the worst-hit city was the capital, Baghdad, with 315 people killed. The northern province of Nineveh comes in second, with 113 killed, followed by nearby Salahuddin province with 94. The figures exclude deaths in embattled Anbar province, where militants control parts of 2 cities. Iraq is experiencing its worst bloodshed since sectarian violence nearly tore it apart following the U.S.-led invasion. The husband of the Sudanese woman sentenced to death earlier this month after refusing to renounce her Christian faith says the court's decision is illegal and an oppressive sentence against an ordinary human. Miriam Ibrahim was convicted of apostasy on May 15 and given 4 days to repent and escape death. Her case has polarized not just Christians and Muslims in Sudan, but her family as well. Miriam's husband, Daniel Wani, claims she was a Christian way before he met her. A gang of arms traffickers killed 6 Egyptian border guards after they crossed into the country from Libya. It said in a statement that the army deplores the killing of an officer and 5 soldiers from the army's Border Protection Corps attacked by armed traffickers while patrolling a mountainous area. The attack in Egypt's northwest happened shortly after midnight, with assailants believed to be Egyptians, a senior security official on condition of anonymity said. Libya has been awash with weapons and gripped by the unrest since the NATO-backed uprising that toppled dictator Muammar Gaddafi back in 2011, with the rival militias who ousted him vying for control. A wave of insecurity in Egypt boosted the popularity of former army chief Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, who scored a crushing presidential election victory just last week. Finally, President Barack Obama, flanked by the parents of a U.S. soldier released after being held for nearly 5 years by the Taliban, said in the White House Rose Garden that the United States has an ironclad commitment to bring home its prisoners of war. He said that while Army Surgeon Bob Bergdahl was being held, he was never forgotten. The news of U.S. Army Surgeon General Bob Bergdahl, released from captivity on Saturday, spread quickly in his hometown of Idaho, and residents immediately began making plans for a welcome home celebration. He's 28 years old, and he had been held prisoner by the Taliban since June 30th, 2009. He was handed over to U.S. Special Forces by the Taliban in exchange for the release of 5 Afghani detainees held by the U.S.
As Commander-in-Chief, I am proud of the service members who recovered Sergeant Bergdahl and brought him safely out of harm's way. As usual, they performed with extraordinary courage and professionalism, and they've made their nation proud. Right now, our top priority is making sure that Bo gets the care and support that he needs and that he can be reunited with his family as soon as possible. I'm also grateful for the tireless work of our diplomats and for the cooperation of the government of Qatar in helping to secure Bo's release. We've worked for several years to achieve this goal, and earlier this week I was able to personally thank the Emir of Qatar for his leadership in helping us get it done. As part of this effort, the United States is transferring 5 detainees from the prison in Guantanamo Bay to Qatar. The Qatari government has given us assurances that it will put in place measures to protect our national security. I also want to express gratitude to the Afghan government, which has always supported our efforts to secure Bo's release. Going forward, the United States will continue to support an Afghan-led process of reconciliation, which could help secure a hard-earned peace within a sovereign and unified Afghanistan. As I said earlier this week, we're committed to winding down the war in Afghanistan, and we are committed to closing Gitmo. But we also made an ironclad commitment to bring our prisoners of war home. That's who we are as Americans. It's a profound obligation within our military, and today, at least in this instance, it's a promise we've been able to keep. I am mindful, though, that there are many troops who remain missing in the past. That's why we're never going to forget. We're never going to give up our search for service members who remain unaccounted for. We also remain deeply committed to securing the release of American citizens who are unjustly detained abroad and deserve to be reunited with their families, just like the Bergdahls soon will be. Bob and Janny, today families across America share in the joy that I know you feel. As a parent, I can't imagine the hardship that you guys have gone through. As president, I know that I speak for all Americans when I say we cannot wait for the moment when you are reunited and your son Bo is back in your arms.
This marks the end of our bulletin for today. Now for a reminder of our top stories. Security agencies launched an investigation to identify the shooters who appeared in the controversial video vowing to liberate Rabda from the upcoming president. A heavy-handed police crackdown on Turkish protesters marking the one-year anniversary of deadly anti-government demonstrations earns Ankara a strong rebuke. And French authorities arrest a man in connection with the murder of 3 people at the Jewish Museum in Brussels. Wrapping up your Sunday headlines live here on Future Television. In Beirut, I'm Yumna Naufal, wishing you a good week ahead. Take care.